Hello. This will be a breakdown of Plato's allegory of the cave. In case you haven't heard about it or have seen this picture before, this is the allegory of the cave written by Plato. If you don't know who Plato is, well, he was a scholar and a philosopher from Greek time, and a lot of the philosophies and thoughts and how we see the world from today go back to what he learned and explained in that time. So, what is the allegory and how can we understand it? I have to admit, the first time that I saw this allegory of the cave, I was really confused. I didn't really know what it meant or how to even explain it to myself. But with more time and research, I could find out. And now I'm going to show you how we can break it down and understand it. So, the cave. What does the cave mean? The cave represents our world, and we, right here, we are the prisoners. That realize that the prisoners can only see the shadows that is held by the light. The prisoners are chained, they cannot move. The only thing that they can see is what's in front of them. So these shadows, the only thing that they can see is the whole world. They don't know nothing about the outside. They don't know nothing about what's on the other side of the wall. They just know what's in front of them. So that can be represented in a world as the way that we see it. I know that when we are little, we can see the world as the way that our parents see it, the way that school teaches us, and the way how we were raised up, how we were brought up, or origins. So as we start, we can only see what's in front of us. We can only see what people show us. But suddenly, we see how one of the prisoners escapes, and he's able to escape from the cave and climb up onto the real world. Now, what does that symbolize? That symbolizes that a philosopher or a person that is seeking knowledge or looking to know more goes and escapes from ignorance and only seeing something to going and looking for the real things in the life. He's not seeing the shadows anymore. He's seeing the actual things in the outside world. While this in the allegory, we see how a prisoner, he only knows the shadows of life. He escapes in the real world. He can see what the shadows were. He could see a base in the shadows. Now he can see a base in real life. So what does that simplify, or what does that symbolize in our world, in our perspective? That would mean us, we're still the escapee. But what do we do in life? We start learning. We go to school, we graduate, we pursue a higher education, we go to college. So we start seeing the life in our own way. We're not longer held by the hand by our fathers and our mothers. We're not told what to think. We start to find what we think of for ourselves. We start to realize how things are in the real world for us. And what is the outside world? What does the outside world represent? This means that there is the true realm for forms and ideas. The sun is illustrated as the highest form of truth, the thing that all want to all want to trust the sun, all the beliefs and ideas. So the prisoner, the escapee now, he goes outside, he sees the sun, he sees all the truths, all the beliefs, all the different ideas that were only presented as shadows to him in the beginning, and now he sees them for what they really are. But the allegory doesn't end here. Actually, we can see that the prisoner, the escapee, he wants to go back. He wants to go back to tell his friends about all that he saw. He remembers, hey, they're still living in shadows. They are still not seeing the real world. They are still prisoners of their own ignorance. So when he goes back, having spent so much time in the sun, in the brightness, when he goes back, his eyes cannot adjust. His eyes are getting hurt because of all the darkness. That's like when you suddenly step into a closet, you can't really make out what the object's there because you're so accustomed to the light that you cannot see it. And this is seen as well. So that's what's going on in the allegory. How can we apply it in real life? That is when we, as educational beings, we that are higher in learning, we go back for those that are still ignorant. Well, that sounds like bad or making fun of them, like, oh, we're going back for the ignorant. That's not really the case. That doesn't mean that we're to make a fool of them. But otherwise, it's like a teacher that just got their degree in English that goes to teach in an elementary school to teach the younger kids, the ones that are still ignorant to English and all the literature and literacy, so that they can learn and be wise. But as we sadly would tell, the escapee, because his eyes are not adjusted, his prisoners, the friends, the prisoners, the friends, they look at him, they think he's crazy because this is all they know. They all just know the shadows of their lives, of the truth. They don't know the whole truth. So when the prisoner comes, he starts speaking of all the truth that he's seen, they see him as crazy and they kick him out because they rather live in their ignorance. So in short, that is the allegory of the cave. How? Now, this by itself can be represented in society as a whole, but we can also see it with another source, which is Deborah Brand's Sponsors of Literacy. While in common, this has nothing to do with each other, this more than meets the eye. Sponsors of Literacy by Deborah Brand reflects on how any source of literacy, whether it be a book, a journal, a work, or a job, or a teacher, that is very important. The last one can help other people as sponsors or teaching them or giving them the tools they need so that they can learn literacy. Now, how does that connect to the allegory of the cave? We see a man that used to be in his ignorance, he escapes and climbs up into the real world. So, in the real world, he gets all the wisdom, he gets all the knowledge that he needs to go back and show the people that are still in ignorance and show them how to escape and how to be better. The same that many teachers and sponsors of literacy do in the real world. So we can see there's a lot of similarities between both of these. The key difference is that in the allegory of the cave, the escapee is rejected by his fellow comrades. They reject him and they don't want nothing to do. They continue to live in their reality, in their lies. They continue to live in shadows. While here in the sponsors of literacy, teachers they usually act like role models and they encourage students to pursue a higher education, to keep learning, to keep growing their expansion in any form of knowledge, mostly literacy, but any form of knowledge that they can find so that they can later help others and become the sponsor of literacy for other people. This has been my breakdown of the allegory of the cave in less than 10 minutes. Thank you so much for your time and have a good day.